Hi everyone, I'm Aurora from Susan's family. Today, I'll show you a rainbow drawstring bag, the playful elephant design. This bag consists of the main part, the strap and drawstring, and also decorations. We crochet each part and then assemble them together. Let's first learn how to crochet the main part. The main part is divided into part 1 and part 2, the edging and the bag bottom. The main part is crocheted from left to right as a whole piece. After completing it, sew together the starting chain and the last row, then crochet the edging on top of it. After that, make the bag bottom and sew it to the inside. First, let's learn part 1 of the main part. Based on stitch variations, this part 1 is divided into a non-increase section and an increase section. The stitches used include chains, single crochet, double crochet, and treble crochet. For convenience in watching, here I will use yarn of another color for demonstration. For specific yarn and color schemes as well as the hook size, you can refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. Pick up the corresponding yarn. Leave about 50 centimeters of yarn tail for sewing later. Make a loose knot with the yarn tail. Then start with a chain. Pay attention, the chains can be made slightly loose. Because part 1 is divided into 2 sections. Here, when crocheting the foundation chain, use a stitch marker to mark the first and last chains of the increase section. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a paperclip or safety pin instead. Continue and finish the rest of the foundation chain. This is what the sample looks like after completing the beginning chain. The sample has fewer stitches. Refer to the chart for the exact number of stitches. After completing the starting chain, crochet 1 chain to secure. Tighten it. Then leave a yarn tail and fasten off. That's how you finish the foundation chain. Next, let's crochet the first row. For this row, you need to switch colors. Take out the required yarn, leave a yarn tail and make a slip knit. You can leave the yarn tail a bit longer. It will be more convenient for weaving in the ends later. Locate the first stitch of the starting chain. Pick up the front loop of the chain. Draw the yarn through. That's how you join the yarn. Then make 3 chains as the beginning chain. This will serve as the turning chain for the double crochet. It should correspond to the stitch below where the yarn was joined. Next, crochet 1 chain as an interval. This should also match up with 1 chain from the starting chain. Crochet 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Pick up the back loop of the chain and crochet here. Then work 1 chain as an interval. Skip 1 stitch. Work 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Take a look. Consider this 1 double crochet and 1 chain as 1 mesh pattern. It corresponds to the 2 stitches below. Repeat the mesh pattern. First, finish the non-increase section on one side. After completing it, work on the increase section on the left side. First, work 3 consecutive double crochets in the first stitch. After each double crochet, add 1 chain as an interval. Consider these 6 stitches as one increasing pattern. It corresponds to the 2 stitches below. Then skip 1 chain on the left side. Work 1 increasing pattern in the next stitch. Skip this stitch in the next stitch, which is the last chain of the increase section. Work 1 increasing pattern. This completes the increase section. The final chain corresponds to 1 chain from the non-increase section. Skip this stitch. Continue on the left side following the mesh method to finish the rest of the starting chain section. After completing, work 1 chain to secure. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. That completes the first row. You can move the stitch marker that separates sections to the current row here. This makes it convenient for the following crochet work. It's the first stitch of the first increase pattern. The last double crochet of the third increase pattern. We'll consider the completed first row as the right side of the piece. Now move on to the second row. Grab the yarn in the starting chain color in the subsequent main part crocheting. For all even numbered rows, use the yarn in the starting chain color. Flip the fabric to the wrong side. Join the yarn on the last stitch of the previous row. Make 1 beginning chain as the turning chain for single crochet. This does not count as a stitch. Continue with 1 single crochet in the joining point. After completion, there will be a chain on the left side in the corresponding beginning chain of this stitch. Work 1 treble crochet. Pay attention, since it overlaps with the first row, you need to distinguish between the right and wrong sides. Odd rows are considered the right side. Even rows are crocheted on the wrong side. Currently, it is the wrong side of the fabric. So after picking up the chain with the hook, place it on the surface of the piece to crochet this stitch. The method for treble crochet is yarn over twice. Hook into the top half stitch of the chain braid, or any strand of yarn. Place the hook on the surface. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this 3 times. That completes the treble crochet. Then, crochet 1 single crochet on the left stitch. On the starting chain that corresponds below the left chain, crochet 1 treble crochet, yarn over twice. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this 3 times. That completes 1 treble crochet. Take a look. Here we alternate between single crochets and treble crochets. Follow this method. First, finish the non-increase section of this side. Now we've reached the corresponding position. On the left is the increase section. Here, first increase stitches in the pattern repeat from the row above. Start with one single crochet, pay attention to moving the stitch marker. Then, the left chain corresponds to the position for double crochets. Pick up this position. Below this chain. Exit through the gap between two double crochets. Work one treble crochet. Continue with one single crochet. Then it's this insertion position again, below the left chain. Exit through the gap between two double crochets. Work one treble crochet. Then work one single crochet. Take a look. When you encounter an increase pattern from the previous row, meaning the insertion position overlaps with the first row's insertion position, you need to exit through the gap corresponding to the chain and work a treble crochet. Continue hooking like this. That is, work one treble crochet at the starting point. One single crochet. On the left side, there's another increase pattern from the previous row. At the double crochet insertion position, work one treble crochet. One single crochet. Continue alternating between treble crochets and single crochets. After completing the increase section, you can check the stitch count. Once the stitch count is confirmed, continue crocheting the non-increase section. Use the same method as the initial non-increase section. Refer to the previous demonstration. Follow the chart to complete this row. The final turning chain position is on the third stitch counted from bottom to top. Pick up two strands of the chain. Work one single crochet. Then secure the yarn. That concludes the second row. Measure the height from the middle of the increase section to the other end at this point. Add about 3 centimeters for the total height of the bag. Now let's work on the third row. Turn the piece to the right side. Grab the corresponding yarn, join the yarn in the last stitch of the previous row. Make 3 chains as the turning chain. Work 1 chain. Skip 1 stitch. Begin working the mesh pattern on the left single crochet stitch. Continue all the way through the non-increase section. Once completed, work 3 more groups of the mesh pattern. Then crochet 3 groups of increase patterns, and 3 groups of mesh patterns. Pay attention to skip 1 stitch between each pattern. This completes the increase section. The final chain corresponds to 1 stitch in the non-increase section. Continue crocheting the mesh pattern. Finish crocheting the remaining part. After finishing, secure the yarn tails. That concludes the 3rd row. Move on to crochet the 4th row. Turn the piece to the wrong side and join the yarn. This row is almost identical to the 2nd row in terms of method. Remember to increase in the middle increase section. Make 1 beginning chain. Then alternate between single crochets and treble crochets. Note that the treble crochet should be worked into the treble crochet from the 2nd row. That means you'll hook it on the wrong side. Once you reach the corresponding position, continue following the pattern. Work until you reach the increase pattern of the previous row. Pay attention. Exit through the gap and crochet a treble crochet. Continue to follow the chart to finish the increasing pattern section. After completing, alternate crocheting single crochets and treble crochets. Finish this row by crocheting all the way down. That concludes the 4th row. The following 5th and 6th rows are similar to the 3rd and 4th rows in method. Do note, there is a stitch count adjustment for the increase position on the 5th row. Make sure to refer to the chart while crocheting. There is no increase on the 6th row. That concludes part 1. Now let's move on to part 2. It continues from part 1. A new stitch method used here is DC2 tog, TR2 tog, DC3 tog and TR3 tog. The first 20 rows are all crocheted evenly. This is identical to the non-increase section of part 1. First, refer to the chart to finish crocheting this section. This is the completed sample. Before crocheting the next row, mark the beginning and ending stitches of the decreasing section. I've already marked them in advance here. Now let's crochet row 21. First, follow the chart to finish the non-decrease section. After completing that, crochet 7 groups of mesh patterns. Skip the corresponding chains after finishing. Crochet on the first stitch and the third stitch from the left side, that means skipping the treble crochet. Crochet 1 DC2 tog together into the single crochet stitch. The method for this stitch is, first, work 2 unclosed double crochets, yarn over and hook into the stitch, draw the yarn through, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. 1 unclosed double crochet is now done. Work another stitch. Then yarn over and draw through all loops on the hook. That's how you complete the DC2 tog. Then crochet 1 chain. That completes 1 DC2 tog and 1 chain. Work 2 more groups of 1 DC2 tog and 1 chain. Pay attention, the DC2 tog should be worked into the first and third stitches on the left side. After completing this, continue with the mesh pattern. Finish this row when you're done. That concludes row 21. Now move on to row 22. Alternate between single crochets and treble crochets. Continue all the way up to the previous row's DC2 tog. Now you've reached the corresponding position. Start with 1 single crochet into the DC2 tog. Then pick the stitch below the gap of the DC2 tog and the third stitch on the left side. That is, the stitch to the left of the DC2 tog. Work 1 TR2 tog across these stitches. The method for this stitch is, first, work 2 unclosed treble crochets. Wrap the yarn around the hook twice. Pull the yarn through. Yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this twice. The unclosed treble crochet is now done. Work 1 more stitch. Yarn over twice, and pull the yarn through. Yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this twice. After completing, yarn over once, and draw through all loops on the hook. The TR2 tog is now complete. Work 2 more groups of 1 single crochet, and 1 TR2 tog. Pay attention. The TR2 tog should be worked in the space below the previous row's TR2 tog, and the stitch directly below and the third stitch from the left. After completing, continue alternating single crochets and treble crochets. Keep going until you finish this row. That concludes row 22. Now let's move on to row 23. Start with the mesh pattern. Continue until there are 5 stitches remaining before the last TR2 tog of the previous row. We have now reached the corresponding position. Then work a DC3 tog. That is, first make 3 unclosed double crochets. Here you should crochet on the first, third, and fifth stitches from the left. This means skipping the treble crochet and working on the single crochet stitch instead. After finishing, yarn over and draw through all loops. The DC3 tog is now complete. Next, work a chain. Then work 2 more groups of DC3 tog and a chain. Pay attention to the insertion point for the DC3 tog. After finishing, continue with the mesh pattern. Keep going until you finish this row. This concludes row 23. Now move on to row 24. Start by alternating single crochets and treble crochets. Continue until you reach just before the DC3 tog from the previous row. At this point, my sample should be at the corresponding position. First, work a single crochet into the DC3 tog. Then, in the gap between the DC3 tog, work a single crochet into the stitch below, and into the 5th stitch from the left. That is, the stitch to the left of the DC3 tog. Work a TR3 tog here. The method for this stitch is, first, work 3 unclosed treble crochets. Then yarn over and draw through all loops. The TR3 tog is now complete. Next, work 2 more groups of 1 single crochet and 1 TR3 tog. Pay attention to the insertion point for the TR3 tog. After finishing, continue alternating single crochets and treble crochets. Keep going until you finish this row. That concludes row 24. Rows 25 to 26 that follow are similar to rows 23 to 24. You will also decrease in the middle decrease section. Refer to the chart for the exact position and stitch pattern. That completes part 2. After finishing the last row, leave a 50 cm yarn tail for sewing later. Next, we will crochet the edging. Before crocheting the edging, first, sew the 2 sides of the main piece. This is the completed sample. Let's start with sewing the foundation chain. Thread the reserved yarn tail onto a darning needle. Align the beginning and ending of the foundation chain. Use the whip stitch method to sew each corresponding chain together. The whip stitch method means the sewing needle always enters from front to back. Pay attention to align the fabrics as much as possible while sewing. Try to make the stitch spacing as small as possible. This will make the seam more tight. After sewing, weave in the ends and cut the yarn. That's how you finish sewing the beginning chain. Do the same for the last row. Align it, pick up stitches, and use the whip stitch to sew together. Refer to the previous demonstration to finish sewing. After everything is sewn, it's time to deal with the yarn tails. First, turn the main piece to the wrong side. Then use the crochet hook to pick up the wrong side of the fabric and weave in the ends. Try to pick vertical line segments on the surface for weaving in the ends. This way, there will be no visible stitches on the right side after you're done. Like this, weave in all the tails on the wrong side. After all the tails are dealt with, start crocheting the edging. I'll continue demonstrating with this sample. First, at the beginning chain seam, pick any 2 threads to join the yarn. Make 1 beginning chain, crochet 1 single crochet at the joining point. Then look at the left side. It's the edge of double crochets and single crochets. Pick up the entire edge of double crochets and work 2 single crochets. Work 1 single crochet at the single crochet edge. If you can't find the position, you can pick the edge or any 2 threads to crochet. Continue picking the edge of double crochets and work 2 single crochets. Work 1 single crochet at the single crochet edge. Here, 8 single crochets are worked in 6 rows. Repeat this 6-row pattern. Keep crocheting all the way to the other side of the bag. Then crochet 1 single crochet at the joining point. Continue crocheting following the pattern demonstrated earlier. Note: the number of single crochets can be adjusted based on actual conditions. Just make sure it lays flat after you finish. Keep crocheting all the way down to complete this round. After finishing, make one slip stitch in the first stitch. Pull tight. Break the yarn and weave in the end on the wrong side. That concludes how to crochet the edging. Next, let's make the bag bottom. First, fold to determine the size of the bag bottom. Align the sides. Fold the bag bottom downwards. The specific width can be adjusted according to your preference. This folded part is the rough shape of the bag bottom. Then take out the grid board. Use a neutral pen or a pencil. Mark the required length and width on the grid board. Then draw the arc shape at both ends. After drawing, use a pair of large scissors. Cut along the marked line. I've already cut one out here. Pay attention to trimming the ends smoothly. Place the cutout bag bottom in the center inside the bag. Adjust it a little. You can use a stitch marker to secure the position of the bag bottom, then flip it to the wrong side. Take a long yarn tail in the cast-on color and thread it through a darning needle. Pick up the surface of the bag, and sew it together with the bag bottom. The gaps for sewing can be shorter. This will make the seam tighter. Mind that while sewing, you are picking up the surface line segments of the fabric to sew together. This way, the stitches won't show on the right side. Sew around in circles like this to finish one round. If you run out of yarn during the sewing process, you can tie off and weave in the ends. Pick up the new yarn and continue sewing. Weave in the ends and fasten off after finishing. This completes the bag bottom. Up to this point, the main part is entirely done. Next, let's learn about the straps and drawstring. Divide into making the strap, the drawstring, and assembly. Let's start crocheting the strap first. We will start from foundation chain, and crochet along the foundation chain. The new stitch method used here is the HDC4 puff. Now, let's show. Start with a slip knot using one of the yarn tails. Here, I'll continue demonstrating with cotton yarn. Work 1 chain. Then work 3 more chains for the beginning chain. Next, pick up the front loop of the first chain. Work a HDC4 puff. First, work 4 unclosed half double crochets. Then yarn over once, and pull through. This completes one HDC4 puff. We'll refer to this as the puff stitch moving forward. Continue with the working yarn and work 1 chain. Then take another yarn tail. Draw the yarn through. Work 2 more chains. Next, turn the work. Use the newly switched yarn. In the chain space from the previous row, work another puff stitch. After completing it, work 1 more chain. Switch to another yarn and draw the yarn through. Work 2 more chains. Turn the work. Continue working 1 puff stitch in the chain space from the previous row. Let's take a look. You can see the pattern here. After completing the puff stitch, work 1 chain. Then change colors. The puff stitches are all worked in the chain spaces. Continue with this method to crochet the strap all the way down. After completing the corresponding row numbers, check the length against the chart. If the length doesn't match, you can add a few more rows. You can also undo a few rows, or you can crochet according to your preferred length. After finishing, leave a tail, fasten off, and weave in the ends. Make sure to also weave in the other yarn tail. Weave in the starting tail as well. Then take another yarn. Crochet the edging around the round. Take the corresponding yarn. First, join the yarn at the starting point. Make 1 beginning chain. Work a single crochet. Then crochet 6 chains. Next, work 1 single crochet in the chain space of row 3. Crochet 6 more chains. Work 1 single crochet in the chain space of row 5. Crochet 6 chains. Edging involves working single crochets in the corresponding positions. Between each 2 single crochets, crochet 6 chains. Continue using this method to finish one side. After finishing this side, you can work the top single crochet into the puff stitch. Alternatively, you can pick up about 2 strands of yarn and crochet. Then crochet 6 chains after completing it. Afterwards, finish the other side as well. Once done, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Pull tight. Leave a tail of about 40 centimeters and cut the yarn. Weave in the yarn tails for joining. That's how you finish the edging. After completing, it's time to assemble the strap. Thread the reserved yarn tail onto a darning needle. Then alternate through the round beads and flower beads. String a total of 8 beads. Here, the colors of the flower beads can be staggered. You can adjust specifically based on personal preference. This is the sample, since there are fewer beads. After threading them on the side of the main part of the bag, sew through about the 5th double crochet from the top down. There's no fixed method for this, just make sure it's sewn securely. Then thread the beads back again. Weave in the yarn tail on the strap. That secures one end of the strap. For the other end, take the yarn tail and thread it onto a needle. Weave in the yarn on the strap. Similarly, thread the beads again. Attach it at the symmetrical position on the main part. That concludes the assembly of the strap. Next, crochet the drawstring. The drawstring is made by working chains. Keep crocheting until you reach the desired length. The length, when folded in half, should extend about 5 centimeters beyond the main part. Adjust based on the actual conditions. Here, I've already finished crocheting it. You need to prepare 2 drawstrings in total. After crocheting, assemble the drawstring next. Thread the yarn tail onto a darning needle. Pass through and exit sequentially from the positions of the odd-numbered rows. Continue all the way around the entire round. Pay attention that the drawstring should be underneath the strap. The side position should also be below the strap. After threading, place both ends of the thread under the strap. Then pass them together through a round bead. Then tie a knot to secure it. Pull the yarn tail tight and cut it directly. That's how you assemble one drawstring. Next, at the symmetrical position, continue assembling the other drawstring. Note: the insertion point for the drawstring should be in the same chain space. This side of the drawstring should also be under the strap. That concludes the assembly of the drawstrings. Next, let's learn about decorations. It's divided into the head, ears, hat, facial features, and assembly. Below, we'll first learn the crochet method for the head. The head uses a chain to start. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. The new stitches used include V for SC2 and 1, W for 3 SC and 1, A for SC2 tog, T for HDC, and K for skip. Before starting the actual crocheting, let's first get familiar with the chart. The chart uses our plus number to indicate the round number. The stitch instructions column shows the stitches used and the increase/decrease situation for crocheting that particular round. The total stitches column indicates the total number of stitches after completing all stitches in that row. First, cast on. Here, the cast on is 18ch, which means you need to crochet 18 chains first. After finishing, move on to round 1. Dow 2 means starting to crochet from the second stitch from your hook. First, make a SC2 in 1, that is, crochet 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Pay attention to pick up the back loop of the chains for crocheting. After completing, continue picking up the back loops and crochet 15 single crochets. After finishing, there will be 1 stitch remaining. Then, crochet 1 SC3 in 1, that is, crochet 3 single crochets in the same position. After completing, rotate the piece. On the left side, use the remaining 2 strands of the chain. Crochet 16 single crochets correspondingly. When crocheting, weave in the yarn tail. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. The joining slip stitch does not count as a stitch, it needs to be tightened. The slip stitch is not indicated in the chart. In reality, when crocheting in rounds, you always finish by joining with a slip stitch and tightening it. At this point, the first round is complete. Move on to round 2. Work 1 chain as the turning chain for single crochet. This turning chain is not indicated in the chart. In reality, when crocheting in rounds, you always start by making a turning chain. The turning chain for single crochet does not count as a stitch. Then, work 2 SC2 in 1. After completing, continue following the stitch pattern in the chart to complete this round. When crocheting, pay attention, and check the number of stitches as you go. After finishing, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Tighten. Be sure to remember, at the end of each round, you need to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. After completing the slip stitch, tighten. At this point, the second round is complete. Now move on to the third round. First, work 1 chain as the turning chain for single crochet. The turning chain does not count as 1 stitch. I will emphasize this again. When actually crocheting in rounds, you always start with a turning chain. You can slightly tighten it. I won't repeat this explanation later on. Now let's work the stitches inside the parentheses. Parentheses indicate a group. Asterisk and number indicates the number of times to repeat the pattern. Here you crochet 1 single crochet and 1 SC2 in 1. This completes the stitch pattern inside the parentheses. You need to do this a total of 2 times. Do it one more time. Then continue with 15 single crochets. Next, work the group in parentheses 3 times. After completing, continue to refer to the pattern. Finish this round. Once done, join with a slip stitch. This completes the third round. For the following rounds 4 through 9, all the stitch methods have been demonstrated earlier. The stitch instructions mean something similar to before. Just crochet according to the stitch order in the chart. The fabric will naturally curl after completion. Turn the right side out. Take a look from the starting point. The raised texture on the right side indicates 1 round. When counting rounds, count these raised textures. Don't forget the beginning chain and slip stitches while crocheting. Continue below using the methods learned earlier. Refer to the chart and finish this section. Continue with round 10. I'll demonstrate with this sample. First, make 1 beginning chain, then work 1 single crochet. After completion, work 1 SC2 tog. Let's take a look first. The stitch looks like these 2 strands of yarn. The strand closer to you is the front loop. The other one is the back loop. First, insert your hook into the front loop of the left single crochet. Then insert into the front loop of the adjacent single crochet, yarn over and draw the yarn through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops remaining on the hook. Yarn over and draw through again. SC2 in 1 is completed. The braid on the upper right is the resulting stitch. This method of picking up the front loops only to work a decrease is called an invisible decrease. When you use this method for crocheting, the gaps between stitches are relatively small. The fabric looks more delicate overall. Crochet 1 single crochet, 1 SC2 tog. Hook sequentially through the front loops of the 2 adjacent stitches on the left. Draw the yarn through the first 2 loops. Yarn over and draw through again. SC2 in 1 is completed. Continue to refer to the pattern to complete the remaining part. Finish with a slip stitch. That concludes the 10th round. Move on to the 11th round. Make 1 beginning chain. Crochet 8 single crochets. (16 half double crochets). From the rest of this row all the way to round 15, there are no new stitch methods encountered. Continue crocheting in rounds while following the chart. Everyone complete it. Then move on to round 16. Make one beginning chain and refer to the pattern. Crochet until there is one stitch left from the previous round. Here the sample has been crocheted to the corresponding position. The final K indicates a skipped stitch, so skip this stitch. Directly make a slip stitch on the first stitch. This completes round 16. Leave a 50 cm yarn tail and set it aside for later use. That finishes the head. Now let's move on to the elephant's ears. The elephant's ears are divided into the right ear and the left ear. No new stitch methods were used. Now, let's show. First, crochet the right ear piece. Chain 5 for the foundation chain. Start with the SC2 in 1 in the second to last stitch. Then work 2 single crochets and 1 SC2 in 1. That completes the first row. Continue with the second row. Crochet 1 chain as the turning chain of single crochet. This does not count as a stitch. Then turn your work. Then work 1 SC2 in 1. Crochet 4 single crochets. Work 1 SC2 in 1. The second row is completed. Now move on to the third row. Crochet 1 chain. Turn the work over. Crochet 8 single crochets correspondingly. That completes the third row. Now continue with the fourth row. Crochet 1 chain. Turn the work over. Crochet 6 single crochets. Then work 1 SC2 tog. Here we are doing a regular SC2 tog. That means first working 2 unclosed single crochets. Insert into the stitch and pull the yarn through. 1 unclosed single crochet is done. Work 1 more stitch. After completing, yarn over and draw through all loops on the hook once. That's how you complete the SC2 tog. The SC2 tog used for the elephant ears is the regular SC2 tog. Take a look. The ears are crocheted back and forth. Just keep going until you finish the required number of rows. Be mindful to check the stitch count for each row as you crochet to avoid making mistakes. This is what the sample looks like after finishing the last row. After this, you will need to crochet in rounds. Chain 1, then turn your work, and crochet 8 single crochets. Then you reach the side edge of the section. And make a SC2 in 1 on this edge. Then crochet 14 single crochets. You can refer to the texture of each row while crocheting. And match 1 stitch for each row. Be sure to check the stitch count as you go. Then you'll reach the foundation chain. Crochet 1 SC2 in 1 here. Then 2 single crochets and another SC2 in 1. Next, crochet 14 single crochets along this side edge, followed by 1 SC2 in 1. After completing, join with a slip stitch. Crochet 1 chain to secure. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. One piece of the right ear is now completed. You need to make 2 pieces in total. Pay attention to the different color schemes. After both fabrics are completed, start crocheting the border for the right ear. Place the last round with the right side, facing up, stacking them together. Find the 10th stitch of the last round. Pick up the stitches from both layers. Join yarn and refer to the chart to crochet this round. Always crochet through both layers stitches. After completing, leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Pull the yarn tail and thread it onto a darning needle. Insert the needle into the second stitch. Then insert the needle into the back loop of the last stitch. Gently tighten slightly. Afterwards, weave in the yarn tail and fasten off. This completes the edging for the right ear. The entire right ear is now finished. For the left ear, refer to the previous demonstration and follow the chart to finish it. That concludes the elephant ears. Next, we will crochet the hat. It is divided into 2 parts, the decorative ball and the main part. Let's start with the decorative ball. Make 2 beginning chains, then work 6 single crochets into the second to last stitch. Join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. The first round is complete. Move on to crochet the second round. Chain 1 as beginning chain. Work 1 single crochet and 1 SC2 in 1. This completes 1 group in parentheses. Continue crocheting and finish the remaining 2 groups. After completing, slip stitch. The second round is now finished. Continue to follow the chart and crochet the remaining 2 rounds. Before slip stitching in the final round, stuff some waste yarn inside the fabric for padding. Then crochet a slip stitch. After finishing, leave a tail and fasten off. Thread the yarn tail onto a darning needle. Pick up the front loops of the last round stitches one by one. Once you've picked up the entire round, pull tight. The decoration ball is now complete. The crocheting method for the main part of the hat has been demonstrated before. Refer to the chart and finish crocheting it. After finishing, leave a tail for sewing. That concludes the explanation of the hat. Next, let's make the eyes. Work 3 chains. In the second to last stitch, make a SC2 in 1. On the left side stitch, work a SC3 in 1. Rotate the piece on the remaining 2 strands of the first chain. Work 1 single crochet. Then slip stitch in the first stitch. Tighten. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Pull the starting yarn tail to the right side. Here, the wrong side of the piece will be the front of the eye. That completes one eye. Crochet another identical eye. The method for the nose is similar to that of the hat. Refer to the chart to complete the nose. Up to this point, the crocheting of the decoration is done. Next, we'll assemble it. Take the head section. Stuff waste yarn inside. Don't stuff the head too tightly here. Just make sure it has some thickness. After completing, thread the end of the yarn onto a darning needle. Fold the opening in half. Then sew it together with a whip stitch. Here you need to pick up the front loops of the stitches, that is, the half loop of the stitch closer to you for sewing. If the yarn tail isn't at the side, you can first transition it to the correct position. And then start sewing. Keep sewing like this until you finish the opening. When you have about a small gap left, check if the stuffing is firmly stuffed. You can also add more stuffing if needed. After sewing, weave in the ends inside. If the starting position of the seam is a little bit raised, you can slightly sew up to this point. This will make it smoother. That's how you sew the head. Next, make the collar. Take a long yarn tail. Pull out one strand and thread it through a thin needle. Here, I've already prepared it for you. Tie off the end and secure it in place. The material for making collars varies by colorway. Take out a ribbon or lace trim. I'll demonstrate with a sample. The method for making collars is identical. If you're using ribbon, singe the edges with a lighter to prevent them from coming loose. Be mindful of safety while doing this. Then pinch the fabric into pleats like this. Make each pleat about 1.5 centimeters. While pinching the pleats, sew one side together. Since it will later be sewn onto the head, you can do a rough stitch for now. The direction of the pleats should remain consistent. The collar should be slightly narrower than the head. The exact length can be adjusted according to personal preference. Trim any excess ribbon. Then sew the secured ribbon onto the head. With the head starting chain facing downward, place the ribbon slightly towards the bottom back position. Let's take a look here. The beginning chain should be at the back. Then start sewing together. Secure with any method you prefer, just make sure it's sewn on tightly. After finishing, secure the yarn tail. That's how you assemble the collar. Next, let's assemble the facial features. We'll start with the nose. Take the nose and press it flat. The beginning chain should be placed slightly towards the back. Then locate the center of the 7th round on the head. You can mark the position first if you want. Here, sew together the 2 layers of stitches on the nose along with the 7th round. Secure the position well first. Then proceed to sew it on. After sewing, fold the nose into a bent shape. Fix it close to the head. The shape of the nose can be adjusted according to personal preference. After sewing, secure the yarn and fasten off the yarn. This way, the nose is fixed properly. Then take out the 2 eyes. Use the white yarn to sew a highlight in the middle of each eye. Then tie a knot to secure it. Cut off any excess yarn tails. Now the eyes are done. Place the finished eyes on the circle above the nose. Leave a space of about 6 stitches between the 2 eyes. The exact position can also be adjusted according to personal preference. Pay attention to keeping the eyes symmetrical. After confirming the position, use glue to stick the eyes in place. If you're worried it might not be secure, you can dip a sewing needle into the glue and apply more around the edges. After sticking the eyes, thread the reserved yarn tail onto a darning needle. Insert it close to the position of the eyes. Sew eyebrows on the round above the eyes. Be mindful to sew it a bit looser. Then dip the needle in alcohol glue to secure the curve of the eyebrows. After completion, handle the yarn tail and break the yarn. This way, one side of the eye and eyebrow is fixed. Fix the other side of the eye and eyebrow as well. Continue to secure the hairstyle. Take a 20 cm piece of thread, tie a knot at the end of the yarn, then exit near the middle left position of the top of the head. Then dip the needle in glue and apply glue on the area where the hairstyle needs to be attached. Apply glue while securing the segments of yarn. Pay attention to making 2 circles in the middle. The specific shape of the hairstyle can refer to the actual project. You can also adjust according to personal preference. At the tail, cut the thread at an angle. Continue attaching. This way, the hairstyle is fixed. Then take out the elephant ears. Take the color of the thread for the head and thread it through the needle. Pick up the yarn tail from the back of the head to weave in it. Then place the ears in the proper position on the head. Pay attention to distinguishing between the left and right ears. The placement can refer to the actual project, or adjust according to preference. After confirming the position, you can use a stitch marker to secure it. Then sew together the adjacent side of the ears and the head. The sewing method can be random. Just make sure it's secured properly. After finishing one ear, sew the other ear next. Make sure both ears are symmetrical. Once completed, weave in the ends and cut the yarn. That concludes how to secure the elephant's ears. Next, take the hat. Stuff it with waste yarn inside. Place the beginning chain at the back. Then sew the hat onto the top of the head in a circle. After sewing, weave in the ends and cut the yarn. Finally, sew the decorative ball onto the main part of the hat. Make sure it's secured properly. This completes the assembly of the head. Next, sew the head to the upper middle position of the bag. Pick up the strands from the wrong side, and the bag's surface for sewing together. Refer to the method used for sewing the ears and the head. After sewing, weave in the yarn tails. Then, take the yarn for the main part. Secure the leather label at the bottom right corner. Lastly, sew together both ends of the chain holes. I won't demonstrate it here. If you have blush You can apply it on both sides of the ears and eyes at the end. Remember to apply in small amounts and build up gradually. This prevents the color from being too intense. Up to this point, the assembly section is complete. That concludes everything about this bag. If you have any unclear parts during the crocheting process, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get support. Susan's Family. Supporting your handwork experience. Sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.